Hey guys, Angry Monkey here, and let's talk about Ohayocon 2026, an anime convention in Dayton, Ohio that I attended from Friday, January 30th to Sunday, February 1st. I got there around 12:30 p.m. This is in the same venue as it was last year. Big improvement though is all the stuff is in one building, so there was no bus to take you to another building for more stuff. Everything was confined to the one convention center. And another big win, all the food trucks were inside, not outside, because it was 12 degrees. It was stupid cold with a foot of snow. That was pretty miserable. So it was nice that the food trucks were inside. And by the way, guys, those loaded pulled chicken fries were amazing. Here's a picture of that. But I am digressing. Let's talk about what I did, because that's what this video is. What I did, what I thought about it, my overall experience, and of course some footage to show what it was like to be there. So anyway, I got there at 12:30, and that was just in time to go to the Future of Anime and Entertainment with Rob Mungall. Now, this is the third time I've met Rob. He is best known, or one of his best known roles is Amanajaku, the cat from Ghost Stories. Very funny guy, and of course he talked about a little bit of ghost stories. He says they're making or should I say, there are plans for a ghost stories documentary picked up probably by Netflix. Because there's a lot of rumors and myths and legends revolving around how Ghost Stories dub was made. Because it was just a cult following that's now really popular. And there's a lot of misconceptions of what happened behind the scenes of that dub. And I think this would be a really good way to learn from the cast themselves what really happened and just shut down a lot of these rumors. The other big thing that he talked about in that was obviously the future of anime and entertainment, mostly with this whole AI thing that's kind of a thing right now. And it's only going to get worse. Or better, however you want to see it, but in my opinion, worse. But anyway, that was what that panel was about. But it's Rob Mungall, so it's funny. There were a lot of things I wanted to go to, but I wanted to get my autographs out of the way, or at least as many autographs as possible. Brittany Karbowski was not going to be there on Friday, so we'll come back to her on Saturday. But what I did get was Melissa Fon. I've met her before. I met her at Anime Ohio back in 2018, 2019, something like that. And back then she signed for Ed, but this time was Himawari from Boruto. And I learned that she is the younger sister to Tom Fon, who is best known for Agumon from Digimon. I got to talk to him for a few minutes. I didn't grow up on Digimon, so I don't have that connection to Digimon like a lot of people here, maybe even some of my viewers. But super friendly guy. Definitely recommend talking to the guy, and he's really down to earth and just wants to get to know you. In fact, he wanted to learn our names, and then when we came across Dorothy Fon later, he's like, "Oh, you're Dave." No, my name's not Dave. Oh, Richard. No, but he tried, and that was great. But I got to meet Dorothy Fon, and again, because I met her and Tom both in 2024, but she got to sign for Conan from Naruto and Melody from Hunter x Hunter. I had to wait some time because there was a gentleman with a camera doing interviews with all the voice actors, so I had to wait for him to clear out. And then I got to meet Richard Horvitz, who is known for Billy from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and Daggett from The Angry Beavers, one of his other big roles being Invader Zim. And Melissa Fon, I think, was also in Invader Zim, and Ricky Simons, who was Gurr, was also there. I didn't grow up on Invader Zim. Like, I watched a few episodes, but it just wasn't really for me. But it was really cool to see all three of those guys together, and there was an Invader Zim panel. But I'm getting ahead of myself in the story here. I got to meet Greg Eagles, who was Grim from Billy and Mandy. And then finally after that, Gray Delisle was free from the interviewer, and I had so much for her because she voiced so many characters in my childhood, and I had 5 autographs for her. Vicky from Fairly Odd Parents, Sam from Danny Phantom, Azula from Avatar: Last Airbender, and by the way, she was dressed as Azula, so that was really cool. Of course, she signed the Mandy for Billy and Mandy, and there was a miscellaneous print that had just hundreds of shows that she's voiced in, whether it's Lizzie from Codename Kids Next Door, or Daphne, or of course Azula and Vicky and everybody else. It was just a really cool print, and she signed I Raised You because, like I said, she voiced a lot of characters in my childhood, so that was really cool. And then after we got some autographs, we went to a scary ghost panel with Daphne, Grey Delisle Q&A. It was 6 to 7, but she kind of ended it around 6:30 because she kind of missed one flight and had to catch the next flight, and she hadn't slept yet. So she was a little tired and a little unfiltered, but that was kind of fun. And then I had a couple more hours to kill. I ate those delicious loaded fries, and then from 9 to 10, Campfire Stories, a shared paranormal experience from 9 to 10. Our hostess grew up in a haunted house, and there were countless horror stories of ghosts that she has encountered. And she says, hey, if anybody has paranormal experiences with ghosts and stuff, come on up and share. And I'm like, well, I've got like 5. Which, by the way, guys, if you want to hear some legit ghost stories that actually happened to me, let me know. Maybe we'll make a video about that. I don't know how we're going to tie that into a video game and anime type of channel, but maybe sometime if I ever stream a thing and you guys want to hear some ghost stories or something, maybe we'll do a fun ghost story spooky stream or something. I don't know. I wanted to go to 100 Ghost Story Adventure Night from 11 to midnight, but the person I was with that day wanted to go home, and it was 10 p.m. and we had to drive home. So that was my Friday. Saturday, I sadly was not able to attend a few hours of it. There was a funeral I had to go to Saturday morning. I didn't have to, but I wanted to go to a funeral. Anyway, so I unfortunately missed out on Advice for Aspiring Voice Actors with Dorothy Fawn and Tom Fawn. That was 10:30 to 11:30. Then there was an Ultimate Anime Song Challenge from 11:30 to 12:30. That sounds really fun. After that, I would have jumped over to the History of Rob Mungle voice work, including Ghost Stories and Beyond, from noon to 1. So I would have caught the last 20 minutes or so of that one. And then I would have done the best anime endings from 1:30 to 2:30, but I didn't get there until about 2:30, so that panel was done. So what I decided to do was get my autographs with Brittany Karbowski, and I also was able to meet her for a second time. I met her in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. It was January 2020, and I got to meet her then, and she talked about wanting to play out in the snow, and I said, well, I highly doubt you want to do that now, and her handler's like, oh no, she's already talked about going out in the snow, and I'm thinking, like, it's 12 degrees out there. It doesn't matter, though. But anyway, that was a really fun conversation, and she signed for Miki from Parasite, Rimuru from Reincarnated as a Slime, and she got to see that I had the Chris McGuire and Mallory Rodak signatures on there, and for Kristen, she's like, oh, besties for the resties, and I said, oh, well, what about Mallory's? And she's like, oh, I love Mallory. She's got a soothing, just smooth, soothing voice. And then obviously mentioned that she was pretty too, which obviously Mallory, she is a pretty girl. And then Nana Chi from Made in Abyss, and Pride, or Celine Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Hisako from Food Wars. And she mentioned, this was kind of a fun fact that she mentioned since she was signing for Miki and Rimuru and Nana Chi. She says, you know, me getting the role for Miki is how I got the roles for Rimuru and Nana Chi. And I'm like, oh, really? How'd that happen? And so she went into the studio to audition for one of the female characters in Parasite, and she was saying hi to the English director, and the Japanese director and translator were in the room. And as soon as she walked in the room and said hi, they got really excited and whispered to each other and then told the director, and the director said, we're actually going to have you voice this character instead, because apparently her natural speaking voice sounded almost exactly like Miki in Japanese. And so she was basically made for that role. And because the English directors learned that she can do a nasally voice, that's how she got the role for Rimuru and Nanachi. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that. So after I got those autographs, I got some footage of the convention, and then I went up to the creative writing and comedy uh, workshop panel from 4 to 5, and I kind of want to do some writing and stuff. I think it'd be kind of fun to like make a book, a story, whatever someday. And this was just a fun way to get some writing exercises on how to just get your brain juices flowing to make stories happen, I guess. Whether it's stories, songs, poems, whatever. Just some fun and useful ways to do that. Then after that was German and anime. Who would have thunk? And that was from 4:30 to 6. So I caught the last 45 minutes of it. And apparently, yeah, a lot of anime uses German influences, whether that's like 1939 Germany or whatever, that's used in a lot of anime, or even just German characters in anime. There's a lot of German characters in anime for some strange reason. Then after that was Slime, Tales of Reincarnation with Brittany Karbowski. That was from 5 to 6. So I caught the last half hour, 20 minutes, something like that. Maybe it was 6:30. I forget when it ended. Might have been 5 to 6:30. She was basically talking about reincarnated as a slime, and Rimuru is one of her favorite characters she's voiced, because he's just a fun character to voice. And it was just fun to be in that panel. I still need to see season 3, though. I've only seen the first 2 seasons, but fortunately there weren't too many spoilers there. I think one guy spoiled something to even herself, because he mentioned something and she's like, I don't remember that. And he's like, oh, well, that happened in this. And she says, that must be after season 3, because I don't know what you're talking about. So that was interesting and kind of awkward for everybody. And then I had to kill some time, shopped a little bit more. I bought so much stuff between Friday and Saturday. But I bought some stuff, then I ate, and then from 8 to 9 was the Grimm panel with Grey Delisle, Richard Horvitz, and Greg Eagles. I think it would be kind of fun to do a Q&A with the Billy and Mandy cast. And I'm killing some time, sitting at the table. I'm eating and taking my time, just moseying on up to the room, standing outside the room for a few minutes, waiting for the panelists to come or the door to open or whatever. And then I realized, wait a minute, I think there's people inside already. And then I walked in, and they were answering the last question because the panel was 7 to 8, not 8 to 9. So stupid me wrote the time wrong on my little schedule. So I missed the entire panel. So I'm like, well, that's really unfortunate. And that kind of made me want to leave. I kind of wanted to see the Rob Mungle After Dark comedy panel from 10:30 to midnight, but I'm thinking, like, it's 8. That means I have 2.5 hours. I'm not waiting around 2.5 hours for another thing. I'm done for the night. So yeah, that was my Saturday. Overall, some good panels, but we'll talk about panels more in the end. Sunday, my day started at 10 a.m. with Best Games You Never Played from 10 to 11. That was a repeat panel from last year, but it's always fun to get some really good video game recommendations to possibly play on the channel at some point. Who knows? And obviously, if we have some games to share with the rest of the class, we can share. So that was 10 to 11, and then I went to the Supernatural World of Hayao Miyazaki from 10:30 to 11:30. So obviously I missed the first half hour of it, and the last half hour is mostly just a discussion, but I was just kind of in there to kill some time before the Ultimate Anime Challenge from 11:30 to 12:30. It was all on Kahoot, and the first round was shonen and seinen anime and manga, and round 2 was shoujo and josei anime and manga. How well did I do? Well, I won the first round. I was first place, and because of that, I won this bluey bingo squishmallow and some little pink unicorn thing. Basically, the top 5 people won a little prize out of the bag. That's where the little unicorn pink thing came from. And since I got first place, I got to choose out of the bag of big prizes. I don't know or really care about Bluey, so I gave that to a 10-year-old. Yeah, because all the prizes were a Hello Kitty blanket, a Bluey blanket, a Swan blanket, which the winner of the Shoujo Josei won the Swan Blanket, so I'm like, all right, I guess I'll take the Bluey Squishmallow. And by the way, the Squirtle and the Mario block, I bought those like right outside that panel room, and I just figured I'd show that off because it's the only picture I have of the Bluey thing. And the Mario block, it needs new batteries because it sounds like this. In the entire drive home, it would just randomly chirp, and it's kind of funny, but it also sounded really sad. But before I left, the last panel I went to was all about Brittany Karbowski, and that was from 12 to 2. And it was just a Q&A about Brittany, every role that she's voiced and how she got into voice acting, whatever else. I learned in that room, she voiced that girl from Ghost Stories with the rabbit. That it can never be not because you're a rabbit, but because you're black. And I got to learn how uncomfortable that role was for her to voice that line, but it was funny to hear her talk about that. And obviously she talked about the Rimuru Nanachi because of Miki thing that I mentioned earlier. And that is what I did at Ohayocon 2026. I bought some stuff. I bought Kugisaki, Fujigoro, and Gojo from JJK. I got Ed and Ein from Cowboy Bebop, Aqua from Konosuba, and a really nice free run figure, which was way cheaper than I would expect a figure of this quality to be. I also got some Switch games, Super Dungeon Maker, a robot named Fight, and Phenotopia, and this is really cool. This is a numbered number 249 of 1500. So that was really cool. Konosuba Season 3, and that time I was reincarnated as a slime, both parts of Season 3. I also got Zetsu and Pain from Naruto, Momo and Okarun from Dandadan, and Dusk Maiden of Amnesia, the full series on Blu-ray. And that is what I got. I spent way too much money on toys and autographs, basically. So, what was my overall thoughts of the convention? I say overall, it was okay. I think I liked some elements of 2025 better, but there were other ways that 2026 was way better. Like I said, everything was condensed to one building. That was nice. The food trucks were inside, and there was more places to sit and eat. That was nice. The panelists were pretty strong. It was interesting to see some American animation voice actors here, like Great Delisle, etc. here. I never thought I'd ever meet any of those voice actors because usually when I go to an anime convention, I'm meeting anime voice actors. But it was kind of neat to get some American cartoon voice actors in there as well. And who knows, maybe that'll be a thing going forward for OhioCon, and that would be a good way to meet like Tom Kenny or some legend like that. Tara Strong would be really cool to meet some of those people. And I gotta say, even though the vendor room was small, or there weren't a lot of vendors there, the vendors that were there were kind of the top of the line, cream of the crop. I mean, obviously you had a lot of figure booths, and there were 3 DVD booths. But there was good variety. I've been to conventions before where it feels like there's a lot of junk at the vendors, but this felt curated of, oh, these people have a lot of good stuff, and I guess that's why I bought a lot, because there was just a lot of good stuff to look at and buy. This is kind of a half con, but also a half pro. They did have the video room where they had for an hour a random anime, which is basically 2.5 episodes, where you can watch an anime in this one room. The problem is they didn't advertise it. On the schedule last year, they had the schedule on what shows were being shown at what time in that room, so that way you can kind of work that into your schedule. Here, I didn't even know they had the video room until I just so happened to walk across it Friday night. I did watch the first 2.5 episodes of Somali and the Forest Spirit, and it was a cute, wholesome show. And there might have been more good shows to watch, but I didn't know it was there. I missed out on pretty much all of Friday. I didn't get a chance to see that until it was 7:30 to 8:30. So yeah, I didn't get that until Friday night. I really wish they would have had that on the schedule. So that's kind of a con, I guess. A couple other points of criticism. One of these is a really easy change. There were no descriptions on what these panels were. So you come across it's raining men 18 plus. I don't know what that means. I mean, I have an idea of what that means, but if you're reading just the name of a panel, I might not know what that means, and I don't want to waste my time going to a panel I'm not going to enjoy. I could have gone to some of these to kill some time for panels I wanted to see, but it would have been nice to have a description because some of these panels might have been really interesting panels, but I didn't know what they were, so I didn't go to them. So that was one of my biggest points of criticism for Ohayocon. And this is not really anybody's fault. It's just there was a lot of downtime between the panels that I personally cared about, and that kind of hindered the experience a little bit. I've been to other conventions where it's just like go, 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 and it's kind of exhausting, but you got to see a lot of panels and get to experience a lot of what the con has to offer. But here, I felt like I was just walking around bored a lot of the time because part of that was just because a lot of the friends that I've met at conventions weren't at this convention because the controversy and stuff. And so there wasn't really a lot going on outside of panels in the video room. Like, there weren't really people to hang out with at this convention like there usually are. And that's not really the fault of the convention. It's just my experience. But yeah, I still enjoyed it, and I definitely want to come back in 2027. I hope it's still there, and I hope 2027 will be even better than 2026. So what about you guys? Did you go to Ohayocon? What was your favorite panel that you went to? What was your favorite experience? Did you meet some of the voice actors? What was your favorite story there? What was some of the anime that you watched in the video room? What did you buy? Share all that in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified for when another video comes out, whether that's more Dead Rising 2 off the record or maybe another anime thing, but this is a video game channel, so it's most likely going to be a video game related thing. And I also have a Facebook page where I post these videos on there, another way to interact with you guys. And I also have an Instagram that I forget I have until I advertise it, but it's another way to connect with you guys. And when I remember the Instagram and when I remember to post something, I try to post some cool video game stuff on there because I've got a lot of cool video game stuff I can show off on Instagram. I just forget that I have it. But most importantly is the Discord server where we talk about video games, anime, Pokemon, post memes, talk about nostalgia. It's a fun time. And we're a small community, and we'd love to have you join our community of nerds. It is free. Just say that you want to join. I'll send you an invite. All right, guys, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.